Good afternoon, Miss and my fellow friend. My name is Cha Guoxin, and now let me introduce my teammate. My teammate have Shuge Waman, Chan Guan Hao, Ki Jing Hao, and Wang Peiyang. And today we would like to start the discussion by saying that what is the most important factor that attracts tourists to patronize hawker food store. So let me talk about my opinion first. In my opinion, the most important factor that can attract tourists to patronize hawker food store is hygiene. Because if you don't pay attention to the hygiene of hawker food store, it will also give tourists a bad impression in hawker store. It will not only affect the health of customer and tourists, but also affect the whole society. The seriousness and importance of it is something that every hawker food store operator can underestimate, especially in the current popular period of coronavirus. The government have also begun the customize the hygiene regulation and the SOP, and some hawker food stores have also begun to pay great attention to hygiene. Therefore, some people who patronize hawker food pay great attention to hygiene, and their food is delicious, and they have left a deep memory here because they have good hygiene conditions and deep memory here. People will enjoy their food and feel happy there. This will help our country to attract more tourists to us. They will give the place a good comment and praise the place to their relatives or friends. So that's my opinion lah. So do you guys agree with my opinion?
Well, those were good elaboration to support your point. However, I don't agree that hygiene will be the most important factor to attract tourists to patronize hawker food stalls. As you say, it's better for the tourists to have a deep memory with the meal they had at the stall, but I think hygiene will not be something that the tourists will remember as the first thing when they recall about the hawker food stall that they went to. Apart from that, I don't think tourists who are visiting to our country will be attracted to hawker food stalls of hygiene before even coming to the stalls. So, the other factor that I think will be the most important factor that attracts tourists to patronize hawker food stall is the location of the food stalls. What I'm trying to say is that in Malaysia, we have so many ancient buildings and remarkable tourist destinations. So, when the hawker food stalls are located near those ancient buildings and tourist destination, it attracts tourists to those stalls as well. For example, Malacca has a lot of the ancient buildings. The ancient buildings can let tourists to visit into the buildings and look around the ancient ruins. Once they're hungry after visiting ancient buildings, they can just come to the hawker food stall located around those buildings. They will be easily get attracted to those stalls because they are located near the tourist destinations, which will be easier for those tourists as well to buy food without traveling another 5 to 6 kilometers just to get something to end their hunger. The location will also help the tourists to remember about the hawker food stall that they have visited because the stalls were located near famous tourist destinations that they have visited as well. So, regarding on recalling about a hawker food stall, I believe that tourists will have an easier way to remember of the food stall because of the location rather than the hygiene of those stalls. Therefore, I believe location should be the most important factor that attracts tourists to patronize hawker food stalls. Won't you agree with me, Chin Hao?
Yeah, I agree with it.
Sorry, Surya, but I will have to disagree with you. I think one of the most important factors that attract tourists to patronize hawker food stalls is our prices. Malaysia is a country well known for not just its delicious dishes but also its cheap prices. Foods in hawker stalls are much cheaper as compared to restaurants or cafes. Most travelers coming to Malaysia will have a thought of getting cheaper foods to save money so that they can go visit other places. And where else to find good foods with cheap prices than at hawker food stalls? Not only are the prices of hawker food stalls cheap, they also give you a large portion of the food. As traveling nowadays is very costly, providing tourists with cheap and delicious food is one of the most important factors to attract more tourists, in my opinion. Don't you guys think so?
Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I also agree with you.
But I disagree. I think mm, very important to bring convenience to tourists because they are not familiar with all the rules when they come here, unless they are with tour group. But I still think it is very important to have a perfect routes for tourists. In Malaysia, there are all kinds of transportation tools that can bring convenience to tourists from one scenic spot to another. For example, there are LRT in Kuala Lumpur and tour bus in Penang, which show all the scenic spot and historical site to tourists. Moreover, tourists can also use Google Map or Waze to find routes and then rent bicycle to visit the scenic spot and enjoy delicious food. In this way, they can travel more conveniently and freely. I believe everyone would like to have this experience. However, in our country, there are many kind of dish of tourists to taste because Malaysia is a multi-ethnic country and more tourists seldom eat in restaurant but choose our local hawker food store because the food here is cheap and delicious and many different kind of food can be tried here, whether it's Indian food, Malay food, Chinese food, or Thai food. Whether it's food or drinks, these are available in hawker food store. Therefore, I think convenience can be a great factor to tourists to be attracted to hawker food store. So, about Surya, do you agree with that?
Well, those points were valid, and yeah, I do agree with your point as well.
I see your point, but for some countryside area, it is not very convenient to find food because the restaurant and cafe are less around there, and sometimes people living there need to drive for a long distance to get their meal. For me, I would consider the variety of culture is the main reason to attract the tourists. Let me explain. In our country, our population consists of people with different races. It makes our country a place that have various type of culture, religions, and food. Most of the tourists and visitors were interested in our original traditional food, which is unique because it cannot be found anywhere else in other countries. Our traditional dishes taste special because most of the dishes are cooked with traditional recipe and ingredients like we add coconut milk or some Asian species in the dishes. Also, it is very easy to find a Western food restaurant in our country, so the foreign tourists can have more options to choose if they are not used to our local culinary arts here. As time passes by, some food with a mix of local and Western elements are created, like Asian garlic spaghetti can be found in Malaysia. This type of food will attract tourists because the food combines the elements from their own country and the other country. It looks strange for them, but they definitely would like to try it out. Do you guys agree with my opinion?
Yes.
Yeah, good opinion.
Uh,
I agree
Yes,
with
I
it.
also agree with you.
If you put it that way, I do agree with your point that variety is a good factor to attract tourists to those hawker food stalls.
So most of us agree that variety culture in our country is the main reason to attract tourists. Does anyone have anything else to add on Otherwise, we can end the discussion here.
No, I
No.
think we are all good with your point that variety is the best factor.
All right. Thank you for your contributions and participation to this discussion.